Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. This is Krishna Dasa. So today we continue with 16th chapter. Today we will cover 16.7 to 16.18. These are a set of very powerful lessons from Sri Krishna. So before we begin, I will say the prayers to Guru and God, and I will also play the Guru mantra. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Hare Krishna. I will play the slokas now. So it is 16.7 to 16.18.
प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च जनान विदुरासुराः न शौचं नापि चाचारो न सत्यं तेषु विद्यते असत्यमप्रतिष्ठं ते जगदाहुरनीश्वरम् अपरस्परसम्भूतं किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम् एतां दृष्टिमवष्टभ्य नष्टात्मानोऽल्पबुद्धयः प्रभवन्त्युग्रकर्माणः क्षयाय जगतो हिताः काममाश्रित्य दुष्पूरं दम्भमानमदान्विताः मोहात् गृहीत्वा सद्ग्राहान् प्रवर्तन्ते शुचिव्रताः चिन्तामपरिमेयां च प्रलयान्तामुपाश्रिताः कामोपभोगपरमा एतावदिति निश्चिताः आशापाशशतैर्बुद्धाः कामक्रोधपरायणाः ईहन्ते कामभोगार्थमन्यायेनार्थसञ्चयान् इदमद्य मया लब्धमिमं प्राप्स्ये मनोरथम् इदमस्तीदमपि मे भविष्यति पुनर्धनम् असौ मया हतः शत्रुर्हनिष्ये चापरानपि ईश्वरोऽहमहं भोगी सिद्धोऽहं बलवान् सुखी आढ्योऽभिजनवानस्मि कोऽन्योऽस्ति सदृशो मया यक्ष्ये दास्यामि मोदिष्य इत्यज्ञानविमोहिताः अनेकचित्तविभ्रान्ता मोहजालसमावृताः प्रसक्ताः कामभोगेषु पतन्ति नरकेषु च आत्मसम्भाविताः स्तब्धा धनमानमदान्विताः यजन्ते नाम यज्ञैस्ते दम्भेनाविधिपूर्वकम् अहङ्कारं बलं दर्पं कामं क्रोधं च संश्रिताः मामात्मपरदेहेषु प्रद्विषन्तोऽभ्यसूयकाः.
So who is reading today?
I'm reading, Guruji.
Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, everyone. 16.7. Persons of demonic nature do not know what is the right thing to be done and what is not to be done. There is no purity, proper conduct or truth in them. Hare Krishna. 16.8. They say the world is without absolute truth, without any basis for moral order, and without a God who has created or is controlling it. It is created merely from the union of male and female, caused by lust, and has no real purpose. 16.9. Holding strongly to this view, The deluded ones of small intellect engage in cruel deeds, threatening to bring about the destruction in the world. 16.10 Filled with insatiable lust, pride, arrogance, and conceit, holding wrong views due to delusion, they act with impulsive resolve. 16.11 They are faced with immeasurable anxieties which end only with their death. Still, they hold on to their deluded belief that gratification of senses and accumulation of wealth is the highest purpose of life. 16.12 Tied by hundreds of nooses of craving and desires, and given over to lust and anger, they strive by unrighteous means to amass wealth for sensual enjoyment. 16.13 They say, "This has been gained by me today. I shall fulfill this desire. This is mine, and even more wealth shall be mine in the future." 16.14 They say that enemy has been destroyed by me, and I shall destroy others also. I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful, and happy. 16.15 Deluded by ignorance, they say, "I am wealthy and I am noble born. Who else is equal to me? I shall perform sacrifices, give charity, and revel in enjoyment." 16.16 Bewildered by many such thoughts, entangled in the net of delusion, addicted to the gratification of sensual desires, they fall into a foul hell. 16.17 Without following any rules, self-conceited, obstinate, filled with pride and intoxication of wealth, they perform sacrifices in name only, for show, and not according to the rules and guidelines provided in the scriptures. 16.18 Given over to egotism, power, arrogance, lust, and anger, these malicious people hate me in their own bodies and those of others. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So welcome once again. We continue. And if most of you remember the previous session, Krishna had outlined the divine qualities, which he called as Daivi Sampat. And those were the qualities that Krishna said they're going to help us advance in the path of spiritual evolution. And now he is going in detail on the Asuri Sampat, which is the demoniac qualities. Now, why are we talking about these demonic qualities? Why is Krishna even listing them out for us? If he only wants us to follow the virtuous qualities, Devi Sampat, then why even go and list all the negative qualities or Asuric qualities? Because he wants us to know what are the pitfalls in our path, what are the obstacles in our path. He wants us to clearly understand them. And as you will see, when we go forward with the explanation, you will again see the qualities of pride and arrogance being repeated by Krishna. The whole point is, see, just like Arjuna was standing in the middle of the battlefield and he was not sure which way to go. He was not sure what he should do. Just like that, it's a very beautiful analogy. So just like that, we are all like Arjunas, and we are standing in the middle of two armies. What are those two armies? On one side, we have the Daivi Sampat. On the other side, we have the Asuri Sampat. And we are right in the middle. So in our everyday, day-to-day life, it's like a battle for us. So it's not just one battle in one lifetime. It is a battle, constant battle. And we have to choose constantly. We have to make a choice on which side we want to go. And the teaching is, if we have the faith and if we have the surrender, and if we are surrendered to Krishna, and if you are surrendered to whoever is your guru, then they will make sure that you're always making the right choice. That is the whole, I would say, iconography that has been used in the Mahabharata war. That's why they show, Arjuna is kneeling down in the middle. There are two armies on both sides, and then there is this Jagat Guru in the middle, and he's coaching him. If you see, the Jagat Guru does not hold his hand and push him one side. The Jagat Guru is giving him the wisdom, he's giving him the guidance, and he tells Arjuna that it is up to you. You have to make a choice based on your own free will. So we saw that in the previous set of slokas also, how Krishna has given so much emphasis to free will. We have to use that and choose the right path. The Asuri Sampad that Krishna is talking about, there are a bunch of qualities which create bondage. They tie us to this material world, samsara, and they take us through a lot of suffering, because great saints and sages have all called this material world as dukkhalayam. We don't realize it, but it is dukkhalayam. Does anybody have any clues why we don't realize it is a dukkhalayam? I mean, some of us do realize it's a dukkhalayam, but most of us don't. We think it is sukhalayam. We think we are having a nice time. Oh, what are you saying? Yesterday I had a party. Tomorrow I'm going to go for this event. Next month I'm going to get a promotion. I'm going to buy a new car. Why do you say it is dukkhalayam? It is sukhalayam. Correct? Anybody has any thoughts? Why we don't understand, why we are not able to realize this is dukkhalayam?
Yeah, because we have identified with our body because of our ego and pride. And
Very good.
We have surrendered to Maya instead
So
of...
what happens if you identify with the body?
Yeah, we just get engrossed in these
Yes.
material illusions.
Yes, and what happens when we get engrossed in material illusions?
Get deluded.
What happens when you get deluded?
Our intellect actually gets degraded, and
Yes, you're there. You're on the right track. So basically what happens is our level of consciousness is low. See, for example, especially people in India, of course, in Canada, we see a different kind of issue. But in India, you see in many places when you're walking, you'll see these people who are totally drunk, full tight, and they are lying in the gutters. But if you talk to that person in that instance, that person will think, they'll talk like a Maharaj. They will talk big things. Because at that instance, that person doesn't even realize that they are in filth. They don't even realize that where they are is a gutter. They think they are in Swarga. You see, that is the problem. The problem is when our level of consciousness is low, we don't even realize that we are in a dukkhalayam. So what is the first thing? That is why Krishna is talking about all these qualities, because he cannot just say that it is a dukkhalayam and expect us to realize it's a dukkhalayam. It doesn't work like that. We have to feel it too. And that is why all these qualities, they're very, very important for us to understand in totality what we should have, what we should not have, And the very important thing to keep in mind is there are the bunch of these qualities: hypocrisy, arrogance, pride, anger, harshness. They feed off one another. Very important. So what that means, even if you have one of them, and if you think it's okay, it will invite the others. So that is kind of the science that Krishna is explaining here. And Krishna again repeats, he says that spiritual progress demands purity of thought, it demands humility, and it demands consistency. And these demonic qualities, they are the opposite. And if you don't check, if you are not mindful, if you are not aware of these qualities, and if you don't stop them, if you don't take care of them in a timely manner, they will flourish and they will invite others as well. Just like a lot of you like gardening, so you know how it is in a garden. If there is one bad weed and if you ignore it, within a few weeks half your garden is full of those weeds. See, so you need to take care of them in a timely manner. Very important. And then Krishna is very specifically also talking about hypocrisy. Important to keep in mind, because we think hypocrites means it is just group of people who are doing a lot of nasty things in the world. That is not true. A lot of us are hypocrites many times in our own lives. We just don't realize it. Because what does hypocrisy mean? Hypocrisy just means that we are not the same inside and outside. So that is very important. Because in spiritual context, how does it manifest? Externally, we are doing kriya. Externally, we are doing bhajan. Externally, we are doing spiritual practices. But internally, we are totally somewhere else. And Krishna is saying that is not going to help you align. That's not going to help you really progress. So that is why Mithyachari is being called out here. So in the 3rd chapter, 3.6, Krishna had called it out. Krishna had said, Karmendriyani Sayyamya Aste Manasa Smaran Indriyartan Vimudatma Mityacharah Sa Uchyate. One who restrains the working senses but mentally dwells upon the sense objects is a deluded soul and should be called a hypocrite. A very, very indispensable insight, because if speech and actions, if they are not aligned with the inner reality, then spiritual progress fails. It doesn't happen. Because these people, they will appear virtuous, but they have not truly, embarked on a path of transformation. Only humans are capable of this. So, being human is a very powerful thing, but then we can misuse it also, because animals are not capable of being hypocrites. If a dog is sitting and if a piece of bone comes in front of it, it is going to jump, it is going to bark. It's not going to pretend like it doesn't care about the bone, and internally it is full of desire. It doesn't happen. That is a very human speciality. So that is very sad, because we are misusing that power that we have. Ramcharitmanas, Lord Rama says, Taji mad moha kapat chalanana, karahu saddate hi sadhu samana. Very beautiful. He says, seeking my protection and discarding vanity, infatuation, hypocrisy, I speedily make him very much like a saint. So, what is the teaching? The teaching is, we need integrity. What does that integrity mean here? Thoughts, words, actions. What we are in the mind, what we are in the tongue, and what we are in the actions. Okay. They all have to align. So they are known as manasa vacha karmana. That is how it is said in the scriptures. It's also called, some acharyas have translated it to call it triple purity. I mean, it's a fancy word. All it says is, all aspects of us, the thought, word, and actions, they have to align. The more we practice that, then we actually get on the path to spiritual. Otherwise, it is all just jnana. It is all just knowledge. As we were discussing in the past session also, you can read 100 books on love. You can tell what are the, hundreds of attributes of love, what are the definitions. You can say all of that. But is it going to compare with you actually feeling love even for a day or a moment? Feeling love. But if you have to feel love, can you feel love if you are not having a loving heart? If you don't have a loving heart, you can have the theory of love. But what use is that? What is required is, can you feel it? See? And how can you feel it? That is what Krishna is saying here. If you are being a mithyachari and you don't even keep a track of it, you can never feel devotion. You can pretend to be devotional, but you are not going to feel that devotion, because you are given to hypocrisy. It's actually an empowering thing. Krishna doesn't say this in a condemning way. He is saying it in a very empowering way, where Krishna says, you take care of your qualities and I will take care of your evolution. Isn't that beautiful? That's all Krishna is saying. He's saying, you take care of these virtues, you take care of these qualities, and then leave your spiritual development to me. I will pull you up. You just make yourself, what is the word we use? Eligible. Work on your eligibility criteria. He says, I will make sure that you pass. Very, very empowering, actually. What comes closely second? Arrogance. Hypocrisy is a function of both pride and arrogance, and pride is the root of everything. And arrogance is also called out by Krishna here. And Krishna says, arrogance means what? That full of I know, I am big, I'm smart, I'm handsome, I did this, I did that, I'm successful. I, without ever realizing. We forget. We forget that everything comes from that supreme, like we saw in a couple of sessions. We cannot even breathe if we don't have the grace of the Lord. What are we so proud of? Every time we do something that people appreciate, we need to be in a mindset of gratitude. We need to be grateful that the Lord has graced you and helped you do something. You shouldn't get into the mindset of something is great about me. That is contrary to the truth. Correct? So arrogance is very, very important for us to avoid. Some of you may remember 5th chapter, a beautiful sloka we read. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Where Krishna said very categorically, we call it as a 3-point peace formula, if you remember. So if we acknowledge always that, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that everything belongs to Krishna anyways. So what are we so proud of? Some of this, in movies also you will see that they will show kids, and they will very rudely tell their parents that, hey, this is my room. How can you enter without my permission? It's my room. They are very proud. They are very arrogant. It belongs to them. They forget that the whole house belongs to the parent. Where will their room be if the house was not there? The parents had not had the house. Where will they themselves won't be there if their parents were not there, right? But it never comes to their mind. See, that is how we behave most of the times. We don't even realize this whole world belongs to Krishna. The whole universe belongs to him. So where is this bhava of mine come in? So as you can see, it is not aligned with the truth. That is why it is not right. That's all Krishna is saying. Because a spiritual practitioner who has to evolve has to align with the truth. And the truth is nothing belongs to us. And we don't really do anything. We have to learn to see that it is always the hand of God. It is always so when in the scriptures, when they say, Hindi they say, Bhagwan ke ichha ke bina ek patta bhi nahi halta hai. So we should not take it literally. It is not that God is coming and shaking every leaf every day. No, that is not the point. The point is, if God wills that leaf should not shake, then it cannot shake. That is how you should understand. Just like that, if God does not want you to live, you cannot live. So that itself is a grace. That's how we should understand that. And again, why it came, why that sense comes, arrogance comes, pride. See, the pride is a very, very, powerful and chalak enemy. Sometimes, especially, people who will always say that, I'm very humble. People say I'm humble. Be very careful, they say. Because, if you're already humble, you don't have to say that. But if you have not been humble, but now you are being humble, then you have to say that, right? That means most of the times you are not humble. That is why when you are humble, you have to call it out that I'm being humble. Yeah, so it's a joking way of saying that pride is always there. We have to always be careful. You have to always be on the watch. Is the whole message here. And in 13th chapter also, Krishna had said, the list of qualities, this some of you did the homework, and I'm grateful for the few people who did it. Okay, I think Simranji influenced Kalpanaji also to now use pen and paper. So we have this list of virtues, and Sulataji, thank you for that Excel sheet. So in the 13th chapter, Krishna says, Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantirarjavam. That was how he started the list. And if you see, it started with Amanitvam. And the second was Adambitvam. Where Amanitvam was that whole thing about humility, lack of pride, and adambitvam was lack of pretense, which is the same as saying don't be a hypocrite. So what he is saying here has already been said. Now he's saying it in a different way and providing us a different context for that same thing. Now Kabira, he has also written a beautiful doha where he says, Kabira garv na kijiye, uncha dekh awas, kaal paron buyi letna, upar jamsi gas. No, he says, Kabira, don't be so proud seeing your high mansion. In time, you will also lie beneath the earth and grass will grow over you. So he's saying, don't be so proud. We have to also remember or realize that pride is in a stark contrast to devotion. Because why? Because what does bhakti need? Tell me, what do you think bhakti needs, number one? Okay, Chitra ji.
Humility, surrender. Can you hear me?
Surrender. Exactly. Because bhakti is all about surrender. That is when the devotion starts. Till then, it is not bhakti. Till then, it is at the most jnana, where we are saying, okay, God is great. Okay, God is the doer. God is everything. And I am supposed to unite with God. All of that is theory. But when we start real bhakti, it has to start with surrender. And pride is the exact opposite. That is why pride has to be taken care of. Before that, bhakti cannot start. So in other words, humility is the key that unlocks devotion. Whereas pride is that lock which keeps us confined in ignorance. So we have ignorance and pride puts a lock on it, so that the ignorance doesn't escape. And it's humility alone which has that key to unlock and let the ignorance go and let devotion come in. So let us remember it like that. Okay, and also Krishna talks about anger, which we have gone through in detail earlier. In the second chapter, we even had that table that said how attachment, causes lust, and lust causes anger, and anger causes loss of memory causes loss of intelligence, and then game over, correct? So that we have already studied. So this is another reminder. Krishna is saying that not just pride and arrogance, but also anger. Very important, because anger does not let us see, things the way they are. Very important. So, one very interesting thing I wanted to bring in here is when the fierce war was happening, the war between Lord Rama and Ravana, when that war was happening, you all know who Angad was? Some of you may know. Angad is Valiputra Angad. Vali's son. He is a very, very mighty warrior. Vali himself was a really mighty warrior. In fact, Vali told Rama that you just had to tell me that Ravana is creating a problem. I will take care of him in no time. So Vali was that great warrior, and his son was Angad. And when the battle was going on, Angad wanted to come in front of Ravana. And Angad comes in front of Ravana and he tells Ravan, "Oh Ravana, I see no point in fighting you. No, because I can see that you are already dead." Ravana is like, what are you saying? I'm clearly alive and breathing. Can't you see? How can you call me dead? In other words, Ravana mockingly tells Angad that, are you like out of your mind? Like, I'm standing, I'm breathing, and you are saying I'm already dead? What is wrong with you? And then Angad says something very profound. Before I say what he said, because we are all in the modern world, have all of you seen a blacksmith and what they use to blow air? You know how blacksmith work, right? They have to blow air in that fire to heat whatever iron they are working on. Some of you may have seen, some of you may not have seen. It is known as bellows. It's usually made of leather or whatever other material. So they have to keep, pumping air into it. That is called as a bellow. So when Ravana is mocking Angad and saying, Are you out of your mind? Can you not see that I'm standing and breathing? How can you call me as dead? Then Angad very calmly says that just breathing does not constitute life. He says even the blacksmith's bellow breathes, but it's not alive. So, see, and then he goes on to justify what he's saying. He tells Ravana that, hey Ravana, without virtue, without devotion, without righteous qualities, a person is effectively a dead person. It's a very, very powerful statement to make. Because based on this, Tulsidas ji has written in the Ramcharitmanas. And Tulsidas ji, he lists 14 people or 14 types of people who he says, although they are biologically alive, they are breathing, they are as good as dead, especially in the spiritual sense. So you see the Doha, he says, Kaula kambasa kapina vimuda, ati daridra ajasi ati buda, sada rog bas santat krodhi, Vishnu vimukka shruti santa virodhi, tanu poshaka nindak agakhani, jivat shav samachaudah prani. It's very beautiful. So the things he's calling out, Kaula. Kaula is someone who follows a very corrupt and wicked path. That is a Kaula. Kambasa means enslaved by lust. Kripina is miserly. Vimuda is foolish or ignorant. Ati daridra is extremely poor, not just materially, spiritually also. Ajasi is lacking honor. Ati Buddha, very old, but still not on the spiritual path. Sada Roga Basa, constantly in the grip of disease. Santata Krodhi, always angry. Vishnu Vimukha, turned away from Lord Vishnu. Shruti Santa Virodhi, opposed to Vedas and to saints. Tanu Poshaka, concerned solely with the care of pleasure of the body. Nindaka, given to insulting and bad-mouthing others. Aga Khani is a mine of sin. He says these are the 14 beings, Chauda Prani, who are Jivata Shavasama, who are like a breathing corpse. See, very, very profound, isn't it? So our definition also changes now. Are we alive or are we dead? Now, if I ask before this session, if I had asked you, are you alive? You would have kept your finger here and said, yeah, I'm alive. But after the session, the definition changes. Now, when we say, are we alive? No, you have to introspect. Think, am I really alive and how much alive am I? Okay. So Krishna is saying that I've told you about Daivi Sampat, I've told you about Asuri Sampat. Now, Daivi Sampat, they pave the path to liberation, while Asuri Sampat, they result in continuous bondage. Liberation means what? Freeing ourselves from the cycle of birth and death and this Maya, which is very, very painful. And when the mind is purified, then it can perceive. What can it perceive? When the mind is purified, it can see. Krishna is saying a very powerful thing. Krishna is saying when the mind is purified, you can perceive that you are already one with me. He's not saying when the mind is purified, you will start coming towards me. He's saying when your mind is purified, you will perceive that you are not separate from me, you are already one with me. And it is this asuric swabhavas, asuric qualities which are preventing us from having that perception. See, in practical terms, if we can have these qualities of humility and honesty and compassion and devotion and self-control, it will help us be calm. You can read, you can do a lot of research yourself, but in many, many beliefs, many, many scriptures, even Western scriptures and Western beliefs, it is said that the universe bows to the will of one whose mind is calm. So, even in the advanced law of attraction classes, they don't use the word samatvam and all, but they say that when the mind is still, when the mind is calm, that is when it is aligned with the universe. And when you are aligned with the universe, that is when more of what you will happens. I think that makes sense, correct? And that is what Krishna has been telling us. For starting from second chapter, he's saying samatvam, very, very important. let us say we are like a tree, and all the negative influences, undesirable things that come in our life, if they should not uproot the tree, then what should the tree need? It should need strong roots. If the tree has strong roots, then no matter how many bad circumstances come, it will be able to stand still. And Krishna says samatvam is like that bond. Samatvam is what helps you stay still and steady no matter what the storm is. And you cannot have samatvam if you are encouraging any of those asuri sampat. And it's not possible. You see, for example, lust. If your mind is constantly like, I want this, I want that, I cannot live without this, oh, I need a bigger car, a bigger house, bigger this, bigger that. Where is there time for samatvam? Where is there time for calmness? No? So all of these, they connect. Everything Krishna has said, each connects to the others. Very, very important. And we can use one more analogy to understand why these asuri qualities, we should not have even one of them. It's not possible to just say that, today I'm going to get rid of all asuri qualities. I mean, of course, it's not going to be that straightforward. But if we are honest and if we are having humility, then we will be able to practice mindful awareness and work on those qualities every time we catch them. That is why in the previous session I told you that a simple exercise of maintaining a journal where you can note down your own past week, your own past day, what have been the major situations, how have you reacted, that will keep you honest. And then when you look at your own journal from 1 month ago, does it look different than what you are writing today? Then it means you are actually making progress. You see? A good analogy is a bowl of milk. You have a bowl of milk. We have a lot of ladies here, so they all know this more than me. That in the beautiful, pure bowl of milk, if you put even 1 drop of lemon or 1 drop of vinegar, the entire milk goes bad. And Krishna says, just like that, you may be practicing a lot of, you may be doing a lot of sadhana, you may be practicing a lot of different spiritual practices, but if you entertain even one asuri quality, that can spoil that entire pot of milk, that can spoil your entire mind. It's a very powerful statement. Okay, then Krishna is again emphasizing the need for consistency. Krishna is very consistent about talking about consistency. He has been consistently hammering this into our heads, the need for consistency. So here again he is saying the spiritual path requires steady practice. It has to be consistent practice. It is not enough to have occasional burst of, devotional, occasional burst of surrender, occasional burst of humility. And then, we tried, a lot of people, when they start, they have a lot of this josh, they're full of enthusiasm, but it doesn't last. It probably will last. It depends on where you are in your life. But for some people, it will last a week. For some people, it will last a month. And it fizzles out. Why? If you are honest, first, honesty is important. If you're not honest, you will not even acknowledge that it is not the same as it was when you started. If you're honest, you will yourself know that I had more devotion, I had more surrender, I had more conviction when I started, but then after a month it reduced. It invariably happens. Why? If you introspect, you'll see one of the main reasons for that is expectations. Because somehow, knowingly or unknowingly, you make a image that, magically you are going to get something. There is going to be some result. And you are in a hurry to see the result. So you are focusing on the result. It has been a week, it has been 2 weeks. Then you look in the mirror, I don't see anything different, You look at your bank balance, it's not going up. You look at your social status, nothing seems to be improving. And then you get impatient and then that kind of conviction goes away slowly. That is what happens to most of humanity. This is what happens. That is why Krishna says, be consistent and remember, karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. There is this very interesting story. Guruji tells this story. Premanandji has said this story once and I found it very, very interesting. He says, there was this 2 brothers, and the older brother was very pious, very devout. his day will start with bhajan, kirtan, and all of that. And the younger brother was, totally the other way, because the younger brother had befriended the prince. Somehow they became friends. So the younger brother became a friend of the prince. And you know how this lifestyle of the prince, how they live, right? They are full of pleasures and, great food and mischief and a lot of girls and all this is going on. And one day the prince is not feeling well, so he does not entertain the younger brother, and the younger brother has nothing else to do. So he tells the older brother, I have nothing else to do. Maybe I will come with you wherever you are going. And the older brother says, oh, but I am going for that kirtan. And the younger brother says, okay, I anyways have nothing else to do. I don't want to stay home and be bored. Okay, I'll come with you. So that's why he goes with the older brother. They sit in that kirtanam and the younger brother is listening, and suddenly he feels like singing one line, So he sings one line, and that, Purohit, that great Pandit who is reciting the kirtan, pauses the kirtan and, claps and says, wow, it's so great, so awesome. And the older brother is a little annoyed. He says, I have been singing kirtan for years in front of the same Pandit. He has never told me anything. Now, this useless brother of mine, he is now singing one line, and the Pandit now suddenly, is praising him, and this is annoyed, and, but this just goes on. This is going on, and he one day very angrily, tells God, I don't understand. Why am I not able to get this, kindness from the Pandit or appreciation, where my brother manages to get it in like no time, like what's... And then the God says, okay, I'll try to help you understand. And the God takes him to heaven. And in heaven, he makes him sit, and there are 2 plates in front of him. He says, I'll start serving food while I explain. And he says, who's the second plate for? He says, that's for your brother. He says, what? My brother is here also coming? Well, I took him to the kirtan, and there he got the praise. I thought he doesn't deserve. Now I'm coming to heaven, and here you are saying my brother is also already coming. He says, God, this is not fair. Okay, then the God kindly tells him, there are 2 issues that you need to understand. Issue number 1, he says, you are a bhakta only in this janam. Whereas your younger brother, he has been a bhakta for many, many janams. In the previous janam, he got into this mindset that I am a bhakta for so many years, but that prince, he seems to be having a better life than me. I think I should also experience that. And that resulted him in getting birth here and becoming the friend of the prince. So the first thing you need to understand is consistency is important. Your brother has been consistent for many lifetimes, whereas your bhakti started only in this lifetime. So you also be consistent. If you are consistent for many more lifetimes, then you will also get the same kind of results. He says second issue is you think you are on the devotional path, but how did jealousy get into your mind? Are you able to catch that you got envy and jealousy? It entered your mind. Didn't you realize that? He says these are the kind of lessons that a sadhak must never forget. So why I'm giving you this example? For 2 reasons. This example has both lessons. Lesson 1, consistency. Just be consistent. Okay, and then the Lord will take care of your evolution. And second, don't let these asuri qualities enter. It's not our job. Sometimes we get into this mindset ourselves. I am so good. I do all these things. But look at that person. Why is he thriving? Why is that person succeeding? That's not our business. God knows how to run the world. We are not in the business of running the world. We are in the business of just our own evolution. See, very, very important. So don't let those things corrupt us. I hope consistency is becoming a little more, ingrained. Otherwise, I will maybe, repeat some more times. Either you will totally get convinced or you will get annoyed. One of those 2 things has to happen. Okay. So what are the strategies that we can use? What strategies can we use to counter demonic tendencies? One is the great substitution method. It's all about jodhana. If you think about chodhana, it's going to be very difficult. Chodhana is the path of jnanis, nethi, which is a very difficult path. Jodhana is the path of bhaktas, and we are on the bhakti marga. Okay, so jodhana means what? Like even in the Bhakti Sutra, we quoted that if you are angry, then don't keep telling yourself, I need to control my anger. You can never control anger. But if you are angry, okay, direct it towards God. Be angry with God. Or be angry saying, why am I not yet evolving spiritually? Direct it that way. That is substitution. Similarly, if you are thinking of material things, if you are thinking of sense objects, you cannot hold your mind, but you can substitute. Substitute it for, like for example, we said, if you are just dreaming of, eating some sweetmeats, like you have a sweet tooth, and all day you are thinking of gulab jamun or jalebi or something, it's very hard to say that no gulab jamun, no gulab jamun, no gulab jamun. It's not going to work. But what you can say, instead of that, you can say that, let me make a prasadam for Krishna, and then I will, after feeding Krishna, I will have a taste of it. That is substitution. Keep your mind busy and substitute. Substitution is the only thing that's going to work. Guaranteed. And one very powerful example I want to give you. This is a path to evolution, because gulab jamun and all, they sound funny, but something a little more profound, a little more deep, that we can practice every day, because this is going to apply. This is one of the most important parts of today's session, I would say, because it contains a very practical lesson, which is not easy, but which is very important and very powerful for us to practice. Okay. For example, let us say that we all have that one or two people or more in our lives who have annoyed us at some point, or we think who have wronged us, or we think they have harmed us. We all have some people in our lives like that. What is the natural tendency? The natural tendency is, I hate that person, or I dislike that person, or how can that person do this, or we have a bunch of negative, and we feel justified, because they did this to me, they behaved like this to me, they said this to me. So you have all the reasons, and because of those reasons, you feel justified to throw negative feelings and negative thoughts at them. Based on Krishna's teachings, what we need to instead do is substitute. I'm not saying like stop all negative feelings. It's not going to happen. You cannot stop negative feelings. But the power of substitution works very beautifully here. So instead, try saying, I am sending love and prayers to that person because Samadarshinaha, I see Krishna in that person also. Okay? And the pragma that we discussed earlier, I should not focus on the person. There is no such thing as a bad person. That person was just a victim of bad gunas. So in other words, that person is also a victim. That person is not a culprit the way I look at the person. The person is not a culprit. The person is themselves a victim. And they also have Krishna in them. So I send prayers and blessings to that person. Trust me on this. If you can try this one simple thing in your life, if you can practice this one thing, your evolution will multiply. Okay? It will multiply. So hope this makes sense. This is the most powerful example of substitution I can give you. It is almost like a secret spiritual mantra that I've given you, which is usually, spoken by great rishis and all. They give this kind of teachings to their advanced students. So I'm giving you that lesson. Why it is for advanced students? Because you have to know how to use it also. Because it doesn't mean that you let people do whatever they want and then you keep saying, okay, I'll send you love. I mean, you need to have some discernment, but we have already learned that. So if you have been following Krishna's teachings all along, right now you have the required jnana, you have the required wisdom, and you have the required discernment to understand the lessons and use them in the right context. That is why this knowledge is one of the confidential knowledges that says that anybody that you don't like or you have some negative against, just substitute those feelings with feelings of love and compassion and blessings. Practice it and tell me later, honestly, how your life has changed. When I say life has changed, don't tell me I still have the same car, I still have the same house. When I say life has changed, how do you feel inside? And that is what defines your life. Okay, very important. Another very, very profound teachings I want to bring out here is the distinction between God loving and God fearing. That pretty much is the difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is mostly about God fearing. Here are the commandments, and if you don't follow it, you will be in eternal damnation. You will burn in hell until a savior comes. That is fear. Whereas spirituality is all about God loving. Krishna has never said you have to fear me. No? Has Krishna ever asked Arjuna that how dare? Can't you see how powerful I am? Or did he ever tell Arjuna that if you don't do this, I will kill you? Or no. He has been encouraging Arjuna, saying, Arjuna, ask whatever questions you have. I want you to be convinced. I want you to understand. That is an act of love. See, this is very important because it is not just for our own evolution. If you have any youngsters you are guiding, like your children or your younger brother or whoever, if you come across as punishing, if you are coming across as, if you don't do this, you will get a beating, or if you don't do this, then that person will at the most comply. They're never going to be convinced that what you're saying is the right thing, you see. So fear is a very counterproductive. So we should never use that, and we should also not be in that mode of fear when we approach God. So in other words, I keep using this term in other words. I hope that's okay, but there are many words to say the same things. When we learn to love God, we realize that devotion arises from inspiration. Devotion does not arise from compulsion. It's impossible to compel somebody to love you. It's impossible by definition. Because love means free will. You can force somebody to submit their body. You can never force somebody to submit their heart. It's impossible. So that is why this distinction of God fearing versus God loving is very important. What we are trying to tell is, even for our own selves, we should not go by this notion that, okay, I have to now do this, otherwise God will be angry. I have to do this, otherwise I'll get punishment. That is only going to take you so far. Beyond that, you need to totally be convinced that whatever Krishna has taught us is really the truth. Whatever Krishna has taught us is really the right way. We need to get convinced. And we need to get inspired. Only then the real love will come. And when the real love comes, you are on the path of Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, you are not going to be on the path of Bhakti Yoga, is what we are saying. Tulsidas ji, again, he has very beautifully written. I hope I can do justice to his doha. I'm trying to read it, but I cannot read it as beautifully as some of those, Pandits can read. So Tulsidas ji says, Sabke mamata tag batori, mama pad manhi bandh bari dori, samadarasi ichha kachu nahi, harsh sok baya nahi man mahi. Beautiful. He says, see, we have these attachments. We have so many attachments to so many people. We have so many attachments to so many things. So Tulsidas ji says, Lord Rama says, and Tulsidas ji has conveyed it through this doha, is take all those threads of attachments that you have and make a rope out of it. And then use that rope to tie to my feet. Tie your heart to my feet using that rope. It's such a beautiful, poetic way of saying that he's not saying don't have any, don't like anybody, or he's saying whatever attachments you're having, gather all of that together. Use that as that raw material to create a rope and then tie it to my feet. And this way you will be able to maintain equal vision towards everybody, and you can keep your mind free from elation, sorrow or fear, because you are binding your mind now to my feet. the yoke of God consciousness, as you recall from the previous chapters that we read. The same thing Lord Rama has also said beautifully. So substitution again. Substitution is, instead of tying to all these various sense objects and attachments, use the same, but tie it to the feet of the Lord. I hope that's making sense. Even in the Upanishads, they say that one who has supreme loving devotion to God and one who is equally devoted to the Guru, the truths explained in the Vedas, they become radiant in that great soul. It is Svetasvatara Upanishad. It again talks about love towards God and Guru and all of that. So the message is very consistent about shifting from fearing to loving. So what happens if we don't listen to all of this? What happens if you don't internalize all of this? I'm not again putting you in fear, but it's a very logical next step is what happens? I mean, we are going to get trapped. We, especially things like hypocrisy. Hypocrisy will never let us even acknowledge that we don't know. It will never acknowledge that we have room for growth. We are going to be trapped, and it's unfortunate. We saw the math, right? 84 lakh yonis. So yeah, we can have fun. We can have a joyride and keep going through those, 84 lakh yonis, life after life after life. See, the human birth is very, very precious. One of the easy way to explain is assume that someone has worked very hard, or someone has, by whatever means, they have got admission to a prestigious Ivy League university. They got admission to, say, Stanford or Princeton or some of those prestigious universities. They enter the university and then they waste their life. They are just going and partying and they are fooling around, and eventually they get kicked out of the university. What a shame. Because, you see, it's so hard to get into those universities. People are longing to get a chance, and this person has a chance and they blow it all away. Now, this example makes us feel what a foolish person he must be or she must be, right? But that is the same way. Getting a human birth is rarer than somebody getting an admission to Stanford or Princeton. A lot more rarer, because it is 1 out of 84 lakh yonis. Just think about it. And what are we doing with that opportunity is what Krishna is also saying. He's saying, this is such an opportunity, and are you going to just blow it away? Just something to introspect. And this is what will happen if we harbor those Asuri Sampat, Asuri qualities. That's all Krishna says. He says, just be mindful and tackle those Asuri qualities. And the rest, I'm there to help you. I'm there to help you pass. I'm there to help you make the most of this life. So even modern psychology, they say that awareness and self-examination, they are crucial for healing. And this is, I took it right from a psychology book. The words used are exactly the way it was in the book, that says that, awareness and self-examination, they are crucial first steps for healing. And when we apply these methods alongside spiritual practices, we can see more deeply into why certain negative tendencies cling to us. And by bringing them to light, we loosen their hold on our consciousness. I know it's a kind of a, going bonkers kind of a statement, but what it is saying is the same thing Krishna has been saying. Krishna says, just be mindful first. Okay, be honest, be mindful that what I'm feeling right now is not Daivi, it is Asuri. That will come if I'm mindful and if I'm honest. And then try to tackle it. There are many mechanisms Krishna has given, tools he has given, tools like substitution, many things Krishna has taught us. And be consistent. And if we keep doing it, I think we will graduate with flying colors. So I've already given you this practical tip. I can repeat again, is maintain a journal. If you are hi-fi, you can use an iPad, and these days you can write on an iPad, and I see youngsters doing that. Did I tell you this interesting story that this was while I was in Amazon, we were having an interview, and I was hiring a junior engineer. Very smart guy. He came from a very good university, very brilliant guy, and I was the final interviewer, and I was taking notes. I had a notebook and I was writing stuff, and So, but we had a good chat. I mean, that person was not afraid of me because we broke that ice and we got into a very jovial discussion, laughing and joking and all of that. And then I asked him, do you have any questions for me? That's a very standard interview format. At the end, we ask the other person, do you have any questions for me? So that kid, he's laughing and saying, yeah, tell me, how old are you exactly? I'm like, what made you ask that question? He's like, no, I mean, it's not often that I see people going around with pen and notebook these days. So, yeah, so what I'm saying, when I say maintain a journal, don't get any resistance that you don't have to use a pen and paper. You can use iPad, you can use your laptop, whatever is convenient. But do that. It's a very good exercise, and it will be very, very... See, what Krishna is saying is don't be in a mindset of fear, but at the same time have the discernment. Discernment means what? Let us say you have a situation and you know that you have multiple choices on how to respond. Now the teaching here is you should at least visualize. Take a moment. The pause comes handy here. Take a moment and visualize and ask yourself, what will happen or what will be the outcome if I make this choice? And what will be the outcome if I make that choice? At least give it a little bit of thought. All we are saying is don't let it be so impulsive. Because when it is impulsive and if you are having asuri qualities, usually the asuri impulses win because they are louder. Like somebody is telling you something insulting, your first impulse is to say back something insulting. Correct? Now when we say pause, in that pause, you can ask this quick question, like, do I have a better way of responding? Or is it possible that I'm misunderstanding the other person? And so on and so forth. And also visualizing, giving yourself an idea of, if I do this, what could be the outcome versus if I do that. See, that is called imagining the consequence. Very, very important. Extremely important. Especially powerful enemies. Powerful enemies like moha, powerful enemies like lust. They are going to keep attacking us constantly. And it is not that you are not trying to say that it is immoral or unethical. That's not the point. The point is ask yourself, what will be the consequence? And is it worth it? Or is it aligned with where you want to be? Is it aligned with where the other person wants to be? These things are what make all the difference on which way your life goes. I've said this before also, because long ago we used to work in an NGO, and in that NGO we used to also go to prisons and we used to help some of those prisoners, especially we call them compromised prisoners. I mean, younger prisoners or females and all. But many of those people who are in the prison, they have a very repeating, like we see this in a repeated manner, that most of them, they will tell us the same thing, that I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how it happened. We hardly came across anybody who is very convinced that, oh yeah, that I know that was wrong and I did because I like doing wrong. Like that we never came across anybody. Almost everybody were similar, like I don't know what I was thinking, I don't know what came over me, or I don't know why I did that. So what I'm trying to tell you is that pause makes all the difference. And what you do in the pause is what we are discussing here. In that pause, ask these questions. Those questions will automatically come. That, am I mistaken? Is that other person mistaken? Is this the best response? If this response, what could be the outcome? If that response, what could be the outcome? And your life will definitely be much better than what it is here. Okay, and around the final set of slokas, Krishna says, again repeats that we need to cultivate devotion as the antidote. He says all these problems, they are like poison. These asuri qualities and what we do because of them, they're all like poison. And what is the antidote? Antidote means the medicine that can cure you of poison. Krishna says the best medicine is devotion and service. Krishna says service to the Guru and service to devotees. He says that is the best antidote to this poison. One of the reasons why Krishna is saying this is a Guru is somebody who can see through your hypocrisy. A Guru is somebody who can see through your defects. That is by design. That is what makes them eligible to be a teacher. And if they are doing their job correctly, then they should be calling you out. And that is their primary job. Now, you can get upset and you can, say that bad guru because that guru is finding fault in me. But that is their job, because we cannot always see, because we are not in the same level of consciousness. The Einstein's famous, statement that says we cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So when we are having some kind of a problem, we are at a certain level of consciousness. But a person who is a teacher, hopefully, is at least a minor level higher in consciousness. So they can see more clearly, that's all. And they will point it out. If they do their job correctly, they are going to point it out. And that is a huge service. So we have to be grateful for anybody who does that. And so by service, you also benefit. The 13th chapter also, Krishna spoke about Acharyopasanam, service to Acharya, surrender. And then the power of bhajan and kirtan, Krishna has already spoken. So devotion, service, kirtanam, bhajan kirtan, very important. Meditation and mindfulness, we just discussed all of that. So these are all how you counter that poison. So if you have any questions or doubts, let me know. Now, before we conclude, I want to emphasize, especially because we are all on the path of bhakti, bhajan. Bhajan doesn't just mean that you are making a lot of noise with instruments. Bhajan is even smaran, like when you are repeating a holy name in your mind also, that is also bhajan. Okay, kirtanam is you do it with other people, but bhajan, you can do it within your heart also. Or chanting. Namasmaran is more specifically Namasmaran is very, very, very powerful. It's not just powerful, it's the only way. You remember that sloka like Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam. Kalau nasti eva, gatiranyata. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. And if you listen to, some of you are already listening to many other acharyas, which is okay. But if you listen to some of the greatest bhakti marg acharyas, they will tell you the same thing. They will tell you that in Satyug, people could just meditate and they could attain God. In Treta Yuga, they had to do tapas. Tapas was the way for Treta Yuga. In Dwapara Yuga, they had to do worship. So that is why all the magnificent temples, they are all Dwapara Yuga structures. The temple worship was for Dwapara Yuga, where you do Abhishekam and all of that and through that. But Kali Yuga, you cannot do any of the three. Do you really think you can meditate? Krishna had to spend so many verses talking about samatvam. Because that is the nature of Kali Yuga. We cannot even be calm. How can we meditate that way? How can we sit and meditate for 100 years? It's unthinkable. It's not possible. If we can be calm for 100 seconds, we should pat ourselves in the back that we have done something great. That is Kali Yuga. I mean, we cannot help it. Right? Tapas. How will you do tapas? Because what will you do tapas with? The materials that you offer, they are all polluted. They are all so much corruption, so much pollution, so much impurity. Tapas, there's strict rules for tapas. And worship in temples, how would you do in Kali Yuga? Again, the same problem. What Abhishekam are you giving? Are you giving like bottled water? Like what? I mean, everything has pollution, everything is corrupt. There is genetically modified food. There is pesticides in everything. There is chemicals in everything. So what are you really going to offer as Abhishek? Even for Abhishekam, there are rules that says it has to be really pure. It has to be cooked in a certain way. So the only thing that you can do in Kali Yuga, which is not impacted by any of these corruptions, any of these adulterations, is Naam Jap. Because Naam Jap, nothing can corrupt it. You can do it within your heart. Even in the Guru Granth Sahib, it is written, it says, Nanak Naam Jahaj hai, Chade so utre par. Very beautiful, it says. See, all these vikaras that we are talking about, all these negative qualities, they are all like crocodiles in the water. But who can the crocodile eat or who can the crocodile bite? It is only a person who is in the water. It cannot touch the person who is inside a ship. because these crocodiles are powerless against the ship. And all the saints, including Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have all said that Naam, the holy name, Jap, is like that ship. So if you are using the holy name, if you are chanting the holy name, then you get into the ship and then you will be safe from those crocodiles and you can cross the ocean. So that is the whole message. But again, you cannot be in the ship for one day and then jump in the water for another day. What we need? Who can tell me what we need? Yes, Sandeep ji?
Consistency.
Applause. You see where we are going with this story also, right? Consistency. You have to always be in the ship because the crocodiles will never give up. They are hungry. They are always keeping a watch. The moment a body touches the water, they are going to go and take care of it. Okay, so all we have to do is always be in the ship. Consistency. Okay, so I hope all this is making sense. As we conclude this section, let us ask some questions to ourselves. You can ask it in private and be honest. First, am I willing to examine the hidden corners of my mind? Those corners where I have hidden all my Asuri Sampad, the wealth, the Asuri wealth, the demonic wealth I have hidden. Am I open? Am I willing to go and examine that and get rid of that? Second question, do I have the courage to face them without excuses? Yeah, I cheated, but you don't know my condition. You don't know what I was going through. No. What you are going through is the first arrow. We are talking about the second arrow. We are talking about our reaction. So, do I have the courage? Third, can I open my heart to a loving relationship with the Supreme? Opening the heart is the key. What does opening the heart mean? Humility, surrender, pranipatena, praniprashnena, sevaya. Am I willing? Then, once you are asked these questions, Sri Krishna's assurance, he says, the door is always open. If you can answer those questions honestly and keep asking those questions until the answer is positive, he says, the door was always open, you will begin to see it. You will begin to see it and you will be able to enter it, is the whole point of all of these teachings. So I hope all this is making sense, my dear Satsang family. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I know I've taken a little longer time, but that's because it's worth it and I wanted to maintain the continuity because it doesn't make sense. One day we are talking about 4 Asuri qualities. The second day we talk about 3 more Asuri qualities and then it's kind of breaks the continuity. So I'm grateful and thankful that you all put up with me and patiently you are in the class with me. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. With that, I'll stop talking. The floor is yours. Questions, comments, doubts, everything welcome. No force, but you should know that the floor is yours, that you feel free. It's your satsang. I think everybody is busy asking those questions to themselves.
Hare Krishna. Just you are telling about sometimes we are why they say, why they did to me like that, It's going again, it's coming back because we are consistently replacing with the other things. And suddenly it clicks again back. But still we are able to replace it with the thoughts of Krishna. But why it's coming again?
That's what I was telling you, Lakshmi ji. Those crocodiles are very consistent.
Yeah.
They are consistent. So they will come back. That is why we need to be consistent too.
Yeah.
So consistently, if we have the Nama Japa consistently, then eventually they will start not coming back because they will realize that this person never gets out of the ship. So there is no point trying to wait for that person. Let us go take care of something else. So from our side, the more consistent we are, the lesser these things will bother us.
Okay. Again, sometimes, it's a fraction of seconds comes and goes. Why it comes and goes?
That's what I'm trying to explain from the beginning, that it will keep coming. You cannot control that. Those crocodiles will always be around. We cannot control that, and we shouldn't try to control that. We should just focus on us being on the ship. We should just focus on us always being in the right mindset. Because the more you practice it consistently, your own pride will be taken care of. See, this whole feeling bad of how can they do this to me? Who is that me? Who did they do that to? See, that is our own pride that is getting hurt, our own ego which is getting hurt. But the more we are doing these sadhanas consistently, that ego and pride will automatically take a back seat, and then you will stop feeling offended. You see, that will also happen. So give it time. Let it be more consistent and have faith in the process. I think it will automatically become better.
I think
It's a continuous process.
Yes, Smitaji, you are saying something?
no, I was saying like how you had explained earlier, Guruji, how you react to those crocodiles. Like you get a million thoughts, but how you respond to those thoughts. So that is where we have to steer our response in the direction or envision ourselves where we want to be and steer our thoughts.
Exactly.
How you
Exactly.
Like crocodiles are like thoughts. You get those revengeful thoughts or anything like, okay, this happened, but how your response to those thoughts is what governs your everything. And the more you respond or ignore that, those crocodiles will automatically disappear, I think, because you're not aiding them.
Yes. So, very, very right. So, I'll give you a technical answer and I will also give you a devotional answer. The technical answer is, if you study Vedanta will explain this as Sphurna. So, when something happens, you have an instinct. That instinct is what is known as Sphurna. And then based on this Sphurna, you can either have a Sankalpa or you can have a Vikalpa. Sankalpa, for example, a beautiful flower. You see a beautiful flower, there is an instinct that comes inside, that is Sphurna. And then do you resolve to now I need to touch it or I need to pluck it? That is your Sankalpa. Okay? Or the other way around, let us say you see like something that you don't think is pleasant. Then instinct comes, that is Sphurna. Does your mind says, I have to avoid it at all cost? That is Vikalpa. See, so this is also known as, this is how it manifests as attachment and detachment and all of that. So that's what I'm saying. The technical answer can go very deep. But as you rightly said, what happens will cause a Sphurna. But then how it results in Sankalpa and Vikalpa is the power we have. And we have to make sure that we don't get into those Sankalps and Vikalps. If we can manage that, then technically you are taking care of that. But you cannot stop this Sphurna. That is not in our control. So for example, that is why if you listen to great acharyas and great gurus, they will say that lust, for example, it is impossible for us to never have a lustful thought. He says if we are honest, even an acharya would admit that they also have those thoughts. It is impossible because that is human design. When we are here because of that lust only, otherwise we would not even exist. So that is Maya's most powerful weapon. So this Sphurna will always be there, no matter how much sadhana you do, no matter how much purification you do. That Sphurna, that instinct will always be there. The question is, how do you handle it? If you have the wisdom, if you have the knowledge and sadhana to always direct it towards God, substitution, see, then you are saved, you are protected. So this is a technical answer. The devotional answer we just said, Nanak naam jahaj hai. Jo chade so utre par. So the more you chant, the more it becomes inner nature, the more it becomes automatic. Trust me, it will create that ship for you. Then even your own, that let me pause and even that will start becoming less and less important. Because things won't even impact you to start with. But for this, a lot of sadhana is required, lot of practice and lot of patience and conviction, consistency. But then it is nama jap, it's not like rocket science. Nobody is asking us to learn all 4 Vedas or difficult Sanskrit and all of that. All they are saying is if you can do that, nama jap, then you get into the ship and then the God will take care of that. It's the whole thing, and we have to have faith in that. I have faith in that. I've experienced it myself, so I can tell you that it works. Yes, Chitra ji?
I just wanted to add, Guruji, in addition to everything that you said and you have taught us, it's also the some of these tools that really work, and it only comes with consciousness by practicing consistently and Ananya Chintan. It's something, this question that is it my ego or is it what is more important for me, ego versus the relationship? When we ask that question, it always gives us the right answer to take the right steps and do the rightful actions in the right time. Yeah, so it definitely works. And consistency, yes.
Thank you.
Only that consciousness, when it's there, only then these things will come to you in the right time.
Thank you so much, Chitraji.
Yeah.
Thank you all the satsangis. Just true.
Yes, most welcome. That's what satsang is for.
Yeah,
Really
because
appreciate.
it's, even though we are thinking that one, and then, okay, it should. Thank you, thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, then, thank you so much, satsang family. Looking forward to seeing you all in the next session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.